Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at why the son of Einsulgon wasn't able to defeat Platinum Dragonlord's armor. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. Pandora's actor, son of and also the only known personal NPC of Einsulgon inside the Great Tomb of Nezarec, and the treasure of the tomb, is an incredibly powerful being. He essentially embodies the might and strength of Nezarec during its golden age. Pandora's actor, being a greater doppelganger, has the ability to imitate all, and I truly mean all members of the Great Tomb of Nezarec, the 41 players, and this means he can replicate every single character class, every stat, and every synergy effect that these often min-maxed avatars had developed over the course of 12 years. 12 years of being a member of one of the most infamous player killer guilds in the entirety of the game Yggdrasil Online. And these powers are all available for this formidable entity. And that's not all. Theoretically, with Einsulgon's permission, Pandora's actor could gain access to the inventory of Einsulgon's old friends. He is intimately familiar with every single powerful weapon, every piece of armor, and every single legendary artifact in the deepest halls of the Treasury Vault. And perhaps he could even recombine and improve upon the power of the friends of his father. And he also has a profound understanding of the abilities and how they were used, and is a greater doppelganger capable of embodying up to 45 different individuals in depth. He not only has a reserve of 4 persons, truly unknown and not named today, but he can also imitate every single member of Nezarec in depth, meaning he can fight like Touch Me, Ulbatelain Odell, or Tabudas Magdina, and naturally therefore he can always select and embody whichever player would be the most effective against a particular opponent. For example, if the enemy is weak to magic, he becomes Tabudas Maragdina. If the opponent is vulnerable in close combat, he becomes Touch Me or Warrior Takemi Kazushi. If the enemy has glowing red weak spots, he becomes Shinji, and if the enemy is weak against undead legions, he embodies his own father and unleashes undead hordes to overwhelm the foe. Now something else must be addressed that makes Pandora's actor more efficient than, let's say, Shaltier, because Pandora's actor alongside Albedo and Demiurge is one of the most intelligent beings in the world of Overlord, and of course inside of the Great Tomb of Nezarec. Eternally loyal to Ainz, he could also play a key role in foiling or at least uncovering Albedo's secret plan. And this sharp mind and quick perception allows him to swiftly analyze opponents and adapt his strategy in real time. Pandora's actor is not only theoretically capable of fighting the enemy as the most effective player for the situation, he can also pragmatically adapt his strategy and is deeply familiar with the gear and abilities of every single one of Nezarec's players. Which raises one question. Why was Pandora's actor also incredibly ineffective in the fight against Platinum Dragonlord's armor? Why did it seem like he could do nothing against him and had to be rescued at the last moment? Now, first and foremost, all of this is true, he lost the battle. For example, even in melee combat, the staff of Pandora was completely outclassed by Platinum's own powerful weapons. And he also seemed to lack the power of the spells that the armor of Platinum wielded. However, he did manage to cover one of the undead's key weaknesses. He tricked Platinum into thinking he couldn't be hurt by blunt weapons, which made the battle against the dragon armor easier than it otherwise would have been. Still, in close combat, Pandora would be completely outmatched. And even when it came to magic, Ain's doppelganger appeared to fall short. Spells like Grasp Heart failed, and while elemental magic like Call Greater Thunder had hit and dealt damage, it had little to no real effect on Platinum's armor, who just powered through. And even Pandora's summons were apparently weak. Both the Elemental Skull and the Doomlord were unable to defeat Platinum, despite the fact that the armor didn't represent Platinum's full strength and capabilities. Which again is strange, because Pandora's actor is a level 100 being, and the armor had lost to Shell tier. As for the most successful counterattack in the entire fight, the Doomlord only managed to corner Platinum by recklessly sacrificing its own health in a berserker frenzy, and vanished soon after. But these described weakness were not a sign of Platinum's strength or Pandora's actor's actual weakness. Rather, they were part of a calculated and devious plan. Pandora's actor was meant to feign weakness, to make it appear as though he was barely surviving and unable to break through Platinum's world-separating barrier. The entire battle was never meant to end with Pandora's actor's victory. First of all, Pandora was given Ain's weaker reserve gear. His equipment wasn't up to the standards of the other floor guardians, or Ain's himself. That means, for instance, that his robe couldn't provide 100% fire resistance, like Ain's Solgon's original item could, and the general stats and bonuses it granted were also way weaker. Additionally, Pandora's actor loses 20% of his combat strength due to penalties applied to selected stats. Every single stat that is variable is affected by this. So if he turns into Ulbert or Ein Sulgon, he is only 20% weaker than them, which is still a lot of power, but he can't match the strength of the original 1-to-1. But with that said, Pandora's actor wasn't that weak. He again was meant to feign weakness, to deceive Platinum, in order to feed him false information about Ein Sulgon's true strength, because a rematch was planned from the very beginning, and it should therefore be made easier. And of course, Pandora's actor had to pretend to be Ein Sulgon, so he was unable to transform into Ulbert or Touch Me, again both being extremely powerful combatants. Moreover, Pandora's actor was explicitly instructed by Ein Sulgon to hold back, to bait the enemy and to extract information instead of fighting for the kill. And again, this was successfully achieved by kneeling, and by begging for his unlife, Pandora's actor actually got Platinum's armor to talk. And Platinum also thought that if he uses his real body, he could easily defeat the Sorcerer King. In other words, the second fight will likely be much more intense. And in regards to the undead, Pandora's actor was explicitly forbidden by Ainz to buff or enhance them in any way. The goal was to get a pure, unmodified read of what 2 level 70 undead beings could accomplish, using only their inherent abilities against Platinum. Pandora didn't participate in the Doomlord's battle either, but he observed Platinum's combat behavior carefully, and he noticed that a Doomlord, who sacrifices his own HP to increase its damage output, could at least pressure the armor and keep it occupied, and actually at a disadvantage. Likewise, the Elemental Skull spell were used not for damage. Okay, they did damage, but this was never the goal. But for experimentation. They were meant to test which one of the many spells that the Elemental Skull knew would be effective, without further draining Pandora's own limited mana pool, at least compared to Ein Sulgon's. For instance, Call Greater Thunder was tested to see what would work effectively. But then, when Pandora's actor realized that elemental magic worked, he went via this Elemental Skull through all of the different elemental magic systems and the different elemental magic spells in order to further gauge the broader resistances and weaknesses of the armor. And the dark energy emitted by the Doomlord and the failed grasp part, which didn't even cause the armor to pause and flinch, as it usually would when casted by Ainz or Gon against a living target, also confirmed that this thing was not alive. Not any more alive than either of the floating weapons around it. That it was not the real body of his true enemy, Instead, it was some kind of construct, something like a golem or a puppet. And that's why Grasspart had no effect. And while the Doomlord's dark energy could do nothing against him. And multiple iterations of the same attack type, in this case negative energy, which harms the living but not constructs, along with Grasspart and its repeated failure, serve to confirm this suspicion. Because again, Pandora had to consider the possibility of being deceived himself, just as he was trying to deceive Platinum. And that's why redundancy in attack strategies and the 4-eye principle, basically double-checking via Einzelgone watching, were crucial in gathering reliable information. And throughout the entire fight, Pandora's actor fought with the brakes on, deliberately faking weakness to draw out the enemy and learn his capabilities of him. So the question then is, what would the fight have looked like if Pandora's actor had fought seriously? Well, he would have initially tried to use defensive magic to mislead Platinum, just like he did in the actual fight. However, in this hypothetical scenario, Pandora's actor, while waiting to be ambushed, would have buffed himself, just like Einzelgone did before his own battle against Sheltier. And after confirming Platinum's true nature, first through Grasspart, then via the Doomlord, Pandora's actor would have summoned more undead, from mid-tier undeads like the Death Knights or the Soul Eaters, which could stall Platinum for brief amounts of time, up to more powerful beings like a Death Emperor or a Grim Reaper Thanatos. And naturally these undead would also have been buffed, because Einzelgone and therefore Pandora's actor is capable of massively enhancing the power of his undead summons. I mean, just look at the Guva 41, who received an enormous stat boost to see the effects that this would have on the undead summons. And since Platinum's armor had no magic like regular rejection, which previously made it impossible for Sheltier to summon a Doomlord in the battle against Einzelgone, Platinum would be on the defense. And in this case, Pandora's actor would not just stand by, but actively engage in the fight. After exhausting nearly all of his mana and using up his undead, either Platinum's armor would break down, or Pandora would go into melee combat, using Perfect Warrior in order to finish him off. And if a level 70 Doomlord could already put pressure on Platinum's armor, then an already weakened armor would not stand a chance against a level 100 warrior, even if said warrior was only of average strength and handicapped in some areas. So in other words, Pandora's actor would have won the fight against the armor, even while still impersonating Einzelgone. The only reason he lost was because the first fight was solely for information gathering and for deceiving Platinum. And with that said, now it's your turn. What do you think about the video and the fight, and do you think Pandora's actor would have won if he had just fought a bit more seriously? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to all of my Patreons for supporting this channel, and as usual, I say my special thanks to ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon S, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Din Pep, Dragonlord Placidus Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Haster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Le Louche Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Merwek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh hell no, Normal Toad, Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pentum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.